what's the meaning of the idea that the oceans are repository? का मतलब क्या है? That is where everything ends up. That is where we have the bank. That is where everything gets ultimately piled up. Can you relate it with hydrological cycles? Relate with the denudation processes? Ultimately, everything ends in the oceans, right? All the sediments, all the rock type and their fragments, all the remains, even the pollutants, fundamentally end up in the oceans. Why? Because all terrestrial surface flow systems end in the oceans. The rivers end in the oceans. The glaciers end in the oceans. The waves are part of oceans. And atmosphere be linked hai as a part of the hydrological cycle. So from the atmosphere also, ultimately, whatever happens comes back in the oceans. So I agree, yes. So introduction mein, the oceans are more than 3/4 of the earth. Oceans receive all flow systems. The oceans are the sinks and the source of all water and therefore all sediments, including all terrestrial pollutants, all the rivers, all the glaciers, all the waves, and including, as I said, the atmospheric circulations, they end up in the oceans. Okay, because of this, atmospheric carbon dioxide ultimately oceans mein hai. Atmospheric dust particles, atmospheric snow, all of this ultimately is also part of the oceans. If you remember, how did the atmosphere evolve? Initially, atmosphere had lot of carbon dioxide, but when it rained, the carbon dioxide got dissolved and bulk of it is now in the oceans. So ye sara milakar, one or two sentences, yes, the oceans are the repositories of all sediments, of everything on the earth ends up in the oceans. Okay? So the first sentence is the cue to your introduction itself. Yes, we agree with this. Then you can have a diagram. What diagram can you have? So if, I mean, you see, there's no rule here. I'm thinking ki main kya likhunga so that, I can talk about what I know. So I'll say, this is the ocean, the neritic floor, the mesopelagic floor, the abyssopelagic floor, the hedal pelagic floor, and go on there. Okay, and these areas, they have more of terrigenous deposits. These areas within 1,000 meters, they have more of pteropod deposits. Okay, these areas will have more of calcareous deposits, and these will have more of red clay. Okay, and sediments fall by retail sedimentation. Okay, and from here to here, I'll say the ocean accumulates deposits. You have to think on this. Okay, इसमें कोई rule थोड़ी है. But with this, I've told the examiner, देखो, you must understand one thing. With what mentality you write? One mentality is, sir, मुझे 2 पेज भरना है. Second mentality is, मुझे लिखना है to impress the examiner. ये 2 अलग mentality हैं. 2 पेज भरना है, then you want more points. But to impress examiner, you'll start thinking, क्या लिखें, क्या नहीं लिखें, कैसे लिखें. So in the first paragraph and second paragraph tak, I've told him, no, कि I know the subject very well. I mean, I'll create a small space here and do this also. Where do we have terrigenous? Where do we have pteropods? Where do we have globigerina? Where we have red clay? Question पूछ नहीं रहा है. But in one diagram, I've told him, I know all the deposits. I know where they are found also. I know some technical terms like this also. आपने पूछा नहीं, तो मैंने लिखा नहीं, but दिखा दिया आपको मैंने. Now the discussion starts, how the important part of the Earth's geological history. How the important part of deciphering, in knowing Earth's geological history. So somewhere, ये मन में गाड़ लो. Any answer writing, any conversation is about impressing the person asking you. ये interview में भी है. Tell me about yourself. क्या बोलोगे? The guy is impressed. My name is this. I come from this. My father is this. My mother is this. Okay, fine. Your name is this. My name is this. You come from there. I also come from some place. You have parents. I also have parents. Okay. None of us are clones here. So, ऐसा क्या बोलोगे? The examiner thinks, okay, yes, good, nice. Tell me a good point. The objective is, we don't want good answers. We want impressive answers. We want answers that tell me something about your knowledge, your understanding, your processing skills. So, आधे पेज में मैंने सारा बता दिया. Now I say the game starts for me. You have kind of raised the level of competition now. Trust me, ये question देख के most of them will write about the type of deposits because sir हमने पढ़ा नहीं है, ये थोड़ी कोई पढ़ाने वाला है. That's where your smartness lies. So having done this, now so you have got one box done, the second box done, diagram. So when I'm saying think on the questions, I want this type of thinking. Don't give me headings here. Tectonic लिखूंगा, क्या लिखोगे बताओ ना, tectonic में क्या लिखोगे आप? So if I say marine deposits are history of Earth's tectonic process, अब क्या लिखोगे? Let's see. क्या लिखेंगे आप वहां पर? पैलियोमैग्नेटिज्म सेडिमेंट्स का होता है कि रॉक्स का होता है? एक मिनट, यू सेड पैलियोमैग्नेटिज्म. स्टॉप. पैलियोमैग्नेटिज्म किसका होता है? रॉक्स का होता है कि सेडिमेंट्स का होता है? ये क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है? आप बताओ क्या लिखोगे? सोच तो लो अभी एक एक. उससे क्या जानोगे? मैं कह रहा हूं टेक्टोनिक हिस्ट्री चाहिए. रिवर माउथ में क्या है? आपने गंदा किया, अर्बन एरिया के मिला आपको वहां पर, उससे क्या जान लोगे? टेक्टोनिक हिस्ट्री. आई होप यू गॉट द पॉइंट हियर. यू ऑल ऑफ यू on the chat written down tectonic history. अरे क्या लिखोगे उसमें बताओ ना मुझे. Absence or presence of terrigenous deposits along the active margins. That tells us वहां पर trenches हैं. अगर presence है, they are passive margins. I hope you got the point here. Of course, some of you have not done geomorphology. You will struggle a bit. Okay, but even then I have told you enough content here. So when you say river, you can talk about how the bulky emplacements can carve out submarine canyons. That can tell us about the atmospheric processes or the terrestrial processes of erosion on the land. कि कोई जगह में desert है और आपको वहां पर दिखाई दे रहा है deep submarine canyon, indicative of कि अभी desert है, कभी वहां पर river हुआ होगा. ठीक है? So link the questions, not mindlessly dump the points. So my third box जो body है. So under the body, first बताओ, when you say geological history, geological history का क्या क्या part होगा बताओ? Geological history means what? It's about the Earth's origin. Geological history of Earth is not merely about tectonics. Geological history is intimately linked to the life form's evolution history. It is linked to the climatic history also. So when I say geological time scale, थोड़ी हम सिर्फ rocks की बात कर रहे हैं. The geological time scale includes the evolution of life forms. So ये पहला important point था, that the geological history is about the tectonic history. It is about the paleoclimatic history, and it's also about the life forms evolutionary history. Of course, the bulk of the answer should be on tectonic processes, tectonic history. So tectonic history, okay, number one, presence or absence of deposits at the ocean margins. Number two, some of you know, okay, the nature of deposits at the accretionary prism. याद आ रहा है कुछ? The accretionary prism will have marine deposits, marine island deposits. ठीक है? The crushed rocks of the island, the crushed rocks of the moors, the crushed rocks of the ocean floor. Okay, if you remember the deposits called as melange, yaad aa raha hai? I know some of you not from geomorphology will have a problem, but others you can manage. So there is deposits along the accretionary prism that tells me about the history. The red clay is very important. Red clay is largely the accumulations of a weathered ocean floor, the basaltic deposits हैं. The thickness, if you remember sea floor spreading, बताया था मैंने. You move away from the moor, the age of sediments increases. The thickness will also increase. That's how we know about which part of ocean is older. Okay, so the red clay deposits plus the thickness of the deposits away from the moor increases, implying moor is younger, and away from the moor it is older. We know about past volcanism. If I have volcanic deposits, ocean floor में volcanic deposits हैं, I know that area must have had past volcanism, past eruptions. ठीक है? So all of this together, ये सारा मिलाकर, what can I know? I can know the age of the oceans. I can know about the age of the oceans. I can know about the compositions of the ocean floor. Okay, I can know about the tectonic processes like volcanism, subduction of the oceans. Yes. Okay, cosmogenesis is less than 1%, is hardly noticeable there. You can add there, no problem. But this is what I mean by आप लोग क्या कर रहे हो जॉटिंग्स में, सर लिखेंगे टेक्टोनिक, मैंने कहा ठीक है लिख के दिखाओ. You must always have in mind the points are giving me, can you write a paragraph or not, and tell me of these points how many of you did not know most of this. You all know these points. Some of you may have not have done prism or melange, बाकी तो पता ही है ना आप लोगों को. I hope is it fine all of you here? So how do I know the Pacific is how old? How do we know Atlantic is how old? By studying the deposits of the ocean floor. That's why they are okay. So ये सबसे important key point.